Thank you for joining today. Good afternoon or good morning, depending if you are in Europe or in North America. So welcome to the webinar, Achieve Maximum Solar Asset Performance and Real-Time Digital Inspection Workflow. I'm Leo Lamries from Reuters Events. I'm currently looking over both Europe and North American solar, as well as onshore wind. This is one of the several pieces we're helping to support the industry with. And I'd like to thank our panelists, as well as our moderator again today for their time. And just a bit of housekeeping before we start. The webinar will take up to an hour and is being recorded. So you have a full audio recording within 2 weeks. And you'll also have the facility to ask questions. Please do use the Q&A box located towards the bottom. And joining us today, we have our webinar speaker, Nuno Marques, the founder and CEO of Aero Pro Technique, as well as our webinar moderator from Reuters Events, Luke Brett, Head of Renewables and Hydrogen Energy Division. So if at any point, if you want to ask a question, please just use the aforementioned Q&A box. Without further ado, Nuno, please do make a head start.
Thank you, Leo. Good morning, everybody in South and North America. Good afternoon for the people in Europe, and good evening for the Far East attendees. My name is Nuno Marques. I'm the founder and CEO of Aero Pro Technique, a company founded in 2014. At the time, with the aim to bring automation and analytics into the solar industry. And since then, we have been, trying to drive initiatives and adopting AI/ML into the inspection and digitalization workflows into the industry. Aero Pro Technique is at the moment at scale in around 20 countries and across 5 continents. Today, I'm delighted to bring into this webinar discussion initially a kind of 3 main points that I would like to start by presenting and discussing with you about the challenges that all the solar sector is facing to scale up. So we all know that the solar industry is trying to scale up to numbers never seen with with this energy transition. The velocity that we need to bring in terms of deployments, it's exponentially growing. We need to do deployments faster in a much bigger scale, and that really brings a big challenge to address. So I will talk about some of those challenges and also the paradigm changer that needs to happen in terms of full lifecycle digital automation, and what the full lifecycle digitalization and automation should bring into the sector to, represent as well a very helpful and constructive tool to address and to scale up in a very efficient way. So that's going to be around 15 to 20 minutes, no more than that. Right after that, I will present to you a real demo about a solution called iSmart. It's a real-time inspection digitalization solution. It will take around 20 minutes to go through, and where you can see some of the functionality that we have been working on in terms of zero human intervention, real-time inspections, and digitalization, to help on automating and helping to really drive some of the digitalization activities that the solar sector needs in order to scale up to the numbers that we all aim. And finally, we will open the session for Q&A. 10 to 15 minutes. Eventually, we'll have a little bit more of time. Feel free then to address absolutely any question you have, both from solution side or from challenges or whatever you see relevant to be discussed in this webinar session. So, said that, I will start with the first point. So the first point is about how can we efficiently scale solar deployments with massive targets we are aiming for. So this is not new. On many industries, there was really times where they had to scale to double, to triple in really short periods of time. And typically, in every industry, is more or less the same. There is 4 main pillars that we need to make sure are in place to really make this scale up very efficiently and to really make it in a de-risked way. So I will talk briefly about those four. So the first is about people, of course, I think everyone knows that the lack and of specialized human labor is always a bottleneck when we want to really scale up things. Strategy, I mean, having a scalable and strategic plan is also something that every industry, when scales up, needs to have a very strategic plan that is simple, automated, but also sustainable looking forward. Execution, of course, is when everyone see right away execution, but execution actually comes in a second stage, which need to be smooth, de-risk deployments. So it should contain process automation, it should contain automated and continuous control of the processes and on the digitalization type of activities. And of course, finally, and of course, that is not the aim of this webinar, but just to mention cash and supply. Of course, we need sources of cash to power up the business, and we need to have, of course, available raw components to build up our projects. That's another point of discussion. Many things could be discussed about this topic, but it's not today's topic. So, at least on the first three ones, the very obvious and mature automated digitalization solution, it's a very helpful and, in our opinion, a very strategic way to really scale up efficiently. So, automating activities that typically are done by human beings can mitigate the lack of specialized human labor, and that's something that automated digitalization, continuous digitalization can really address. Automate processes during the strategic plan, but also during the execution, keeping a continuous automated process automation that can digitalize and give us real-time insights on the deployment is something that can really help us to understand better our projects, plan better, de-risk them, and speed up the deployments. So that's the first point I would like to bring today to this discussion. Second one is about the scale itself, right? And the solar assets are growing in number and in scale. And, they need to be efficiently maintained and operate throughout the full asset lifecycle. So how can we do it efficiently, right? So we can't just, double the footprints and just think that we double or triple the people and we can do the same thing in the same way. The market itself is changing. Everyone knows the transition we have from feed tariffs to full prices and all of these type of constraints. And we know that moving forward, in order to efficiently maintain and operate these assets, we need to address two things. One is that performance needs to be, we need to achieve optimal performance and mitigate any production losses. And we know that tendentially when the assets grow in number and the complexity of managing bigger footprints, bigger portfolios brings some complexity. So it's very important to really keep optimal performance and mitigating production losses. And the second one is, OPEX is always a very hot topic, right? So we need to optimize the operational expenditures. We really need to do the same things more efficiently, quicker, and even more, cost efficient. So that's where a full life cycle digitalization and automation built on top of a continuous real-time insight that can provide corrective actions. It's essential to achieve this optimal performance and minimize OPEX costs. So that's the second point. And third one, and last one, before we dive into the demo, and in my opinion is the most important, eventually the most important of the 3 points, is about how can we ease the digitalization, right? I mean, much has been said about digitalization, digital twins, and so on. But Let me take a couple of minutes from you to discuss and take it a little bit to the basics again, to the definition of a digital twin, right? What is a digital twin? First of all, a digital twin must integrate all the, it's a single source of truth. So it must integrate absolutely every data available, not just, the inventorization that includes serial numbers, layouts, IDs of the farm, and so on. But it should include as well inspectional data and even performance data from SCADA systems or any other IoT or any other type of system. But this is essentially a single source of truth. But most importantly, and true power of a digital twin comes when this digital twin, this replica of reality, represents the asset in real time, which means any point in time. Only then we really can bring to the sector, only then we really can get the full power of digital. Let me give you an example. I mean, the problem in here is that many digitalizations, many of the inspection activities is done, at the most twice a year, right? And it leaves a lot of room to, to leave unnoticed defects between inspections. I mean, things that can be there for months or even years and go completely unnoticed. Digital data that gets outdated very quickly, and all of that becomes, a bottleneck, because what we want in here is to address the problem of unnoticed defects between inspections, outdated digital data, and to address that, we need the continuous true visibility of the footprint condition. Only then we can really fill the gap between what we expect and what it is, right? Only then we can segregate the problems between, we were expecting it from this footprint, from this, deployment, but we are getting this performance. Why? Why there is this difference? And this difference can be achieved by having a true visibility of the footprint in at any point in time. So that's really the true definition of a digital twin. It's a live and dynamic entity that represents a copy of the reality at any point in time. How can we achieve it? With automation, efficiency-driven, making it scalable, affordable, but even more important than that, this digitalization, these inspections, they need to be highly capitalizable, which means if we spend one, we need to get at least 4 or 5 out of the footprint. And that's where we want to take now this presentation. We want to show to you a few things that we believe will help to address some of these points. Today I'm going to provide you with a demo about a solution called iSmart. It's an end-to-end automated digital inspection digitalization solution. It's a closed-loop, real-time, zero human intervention that goes all the way from data capturing, processing, identifying defects, classifying them, and providing the corrective actions for the things that need to be fixed or updated on the field. It provides continuous true visibility of the asset performance, optimization, real-time digital control, and asset de-risking. So what we want to do here is to help to address the main challenges and help or become one of the essential digital tools to really scale the solar industry to the levels that we are facing. So now what I'm going to do is a demo to you. So I'm going to demo the solution. And what I'm going to do is that on the left side, I'm going to put, this is multi-use case, which means, we can implement the risking use cases or others. What I'm going to show is one of the most common, which is inspection, thermographic inspection, okay? And I'm going to show how it would work. So in a completely autonomous way and zero human intervention. So on the left side, you have the working order. It works based on a working order. So you can define, on the cloud working orders for the full park, a section, certain type of activity. In this case, is a working order for a thermal inspection. And on the right side, I'm going to open our cloud. And I'm going to go to one of the plants. Okay. I'm going to fly into the plant, and I'm going to start one inspection where I'm going to show to you it happened in real time. Okay, so I'm gonna go in here. This is the farm. We have many features. In this case, we are talking about real-time inspection. And now all I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna place this inspection in here on my right side, okay? And on my left side, I'm putting my working order. So all that needs to be done now is to basically open the working order. Okay, this working order will be basically open in the ground station. So that on the left side is actually what is seen on the field in the ground station itself. Okay, and what we have to do in here is basically upload the mission. Okay, we just have to upload the mission. So it is uploading. It takes a few moments. I mean, depends on the mission. It might take a few seconds until a couple of minutes. And once it is uploaded, it's still uploading. So you can see there is a message there saying uploading. So once it is uploaded, we can start the mission, and the cloud will synchronize automatically after a few moments. Sometimes, you know, it can go up to 1 minute to synchronize, but it's okay. Mission is uploaded. So I'm going to start the mission. And now what is going to happen is that in a few seconds, we are going to start to see that small dot, which is the data collection equipment, in this case, a drone, going into the, you know, the area and start to do the survey itself. So I'm going to just show to you how it works. So you can see on left side, drone is already, moving to the first tracker, and on the right side on the cloud, in a few moments you will see the cloud synchronizing, and everything will take place from that moment on. So now we're starting with first waypoint, which means the first. So the cloud is synchronized now. Okay, a new inspection has been created automatically, and you can see that the equipment is synchronized on both sides, left and right side. So this is the way it is working. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to maximize the right side, which is the cloud, and that's where everyone would get access. You know, your teams, managers, whoever in the plant. So I'm going to maximize the right side, and what is now everything else is about, you know, all this magic that happens behind in the cloud. So the data has been synchronized, processed, defects identified, and real time you see the dashboards, you know, updating on the right side. There is, of course, you know, a time between the data is collected and the time you see it on the cloud completely processed, which is a few seconds, sorry. But essentially what matters in here is that everything comes in a few seconds. You start to have all the results on the cloud and ready to analyze. So you see right now on the map, all these areas with the green box means there is no problems. The areas with the red box means there is at least one defective module, okay? Then we can go into detail at the module level. Let's wait just a little bit. So let it process a little bit more. So you see on the right side, there is already 10 defects being identified as part of the first row of the solar farm. And it keeps growing, right? So we have already VBDs, so diode problems with diodes, internal cell damages, and so on and so on. We classify, in this case, we classify in 3 levels of criticality, around 20 different level defects with criticality level that can be classified. So it keep on going, it's just a question of, waiting and let the inspection go on for as long as you want, or at least the equipment needs to get back to the base and recharge. So this is exactly what is happening at the moment. So it is classifying, characterizing the defects. So you can, I mean, you have many functionalities, but you can, for example, click on DBDs and you can see in red the location of only DBD problems. ICD is the same thing. So all of it is really, you know, versatile. If you go, for example, in here, the area number 12, there is a problem. You can, for example, click in here and you can go straight away. You can see the geolocation goes down to the individual module ID as paired as built. So it's not just a lat long, is really the location of the module. There is a DBD problem in here. I mean, you can change the color keys if you want to Inferno or any other color key, but essentially this is, you know, you can zoom in, zoom out, do all of those things. The defect is down below, I mean, and it pretty much go, you know, like that for ICD in there. So all automated modes until the mission is completed. This is completely zero human intervention. Okay, so I'm just, you know, stop it in a while and let the cloud just process the remaining pictures, the remaining thermographies. Now what I'm gonna do is, the next step is, I mean, you can wait a few seconds until it gets all processed, but I mean, you can right away generate reports. I mean, you can come here and click in here, generate report. You can actually filter out by, you know, all the defects that have been identified so far, 21, for example, by the time we click on generate report, and generate a report for this one. So you don't even have to wait for the, you know, the inspection to take place in order to generate a report. So the next step is, once you generate a report, and if you are with your account logged in, you should receive in your email a report. So I'm going to go to my email, okay, and I'm going to, you know, not reply, iSmart real-time inspection. I just received the email now at this precise moment, 3/20/24 for me. You can scan the report, scan the QR code and open it, or just click on download report, download it, and you get your report automatically generated. So it goes to the download folder. And now you just have to unzip, extract the content of the report. So the report itself, and you can open it straight away. So it's a real-time inspection, infrared for this plant, requested by Nunomarks. I'm the user that requests a report. Right away gives you and tells you that out of the modules that we have surveyed in these few minutes of demo, 98% are LT, 1.7% of the modules are not LT, and the defective modules, 47% are major problems, 19 medium, and 33 is minor, just to have an idea. You get straight away a count of the modules and effective ones, right? For example, you know, in these first trackers, we have surveyed so far, and it was automatically identified 1,188 inspected PV modules that we did in these few minutes. And out of them, 21 show defects, okay? This is the breakdown of the defects. So you can see the counting. There is 6 dBds for internal cell damages above a certain delta of temperature, which is measured. There is cell mismatchings and a few more other things. Then you have all the things that you need about scoping, methodology, inspection conditions, you know, typical stuff to all the defects that could be classified. And then you have straight away, you know, one by one, all the defects characterized with their ID, the precise locations per your IDs. And if there is a prior serial number inventorization, even the serial number will be integrated into the report, will be actually popping up as well into the report. So you can see the report all one by one. This is configurable. I mean, we can make a different layout or even customize it. I mean, that's okay. Then you get, of course, as support all the data collected, okay, and selectively all the pictures that where the defects have been identified. And then there is an implementation plan that can be sent for teams on the field, which is a small report with priorities and things that need to be fixed. I mean, you don't have to send, of course, the Excel to the teams on the field. We have as well application that runs in smartphone where technicians can access directly the problems. However, you know, this is another option that is also available in here. So said that and done that, I mean, as you can see, the rest of the data just got processed until where the drone surveyed. Now we have 24 defects instead of the 21 that we generate a report because new data came, got processed after we click on generate report. And the next thing that we have to do is you have two options, or you just close the inspection and that's it. So you have done your corrective actions, or you integrate. Integrating this inspection means you integrate this inspection in the digital twin, which means it will be part of your solar farm story. So you can then use many other functionalities that we provide as well as part of our platform. We'll not demonstrate today, but you can, for example, make you know, defect follow-up. For example, you can follow up on a module level if you want defects inspection after inspection. You can, for example, you know, figure out if a certain team have done all the fixing activities that they were planning to do. So you can make follow-up, you can optimize, you can even do root cause analysis, claim based on it if you want. But more important, all those functionalities upstream after you integrate the results, and all of them come here in the features. Okay, you have a lot of them. All of these functionalities, they actually, you know, get available after you integrate the results, which means you can do inspections only to fix a few problems. So you can use it as a working tool, but also as something to keep, you know, a story along the time and follow up the things. The most important is that all of those features are really one-click features, which means we don't have too many things that we have to configure. You know, everything is very straightforward and as much as possible automated. And that's it. I think it's just one use case. As I said, this is just one use case. So this is multi-use case platform. Of course, we can implement, you know, if we see value on many other use cases, and we are working and we have some other implemented, we will go for them. But the most important thing in here is really how can we ease the digitalization, which includes digitalize the farm, but also inspect in a completely, you know, unlimited way to really create a true digital twin, a true visibility of the footprint, and then use it as insights to trigger direct actions on the footprint to de-risk the assets and do type of things. So it's not just about thermography, it's about much more than that. We can be talking about misaligned trackers. You can be talking about detecting problems in the water drainage after a big storm. You know, many things that really automate all of these activities that need to be in place to keep these assets, you know, de-risked, optimized, and allow us to really scale up and help to scale up. And that's it, you know. Now I'm gonna, you know, open the Q&A section. Let me just go to the here, put this in presentation mode, and I invite everyone and my colleagues, Luke and Leo, you know, to address me any question and anything that you might see relevant to be explained after this this demo.
Oh, Leo, I don't think we've quite got you there, but
Yeah.
I'm happy to.
Yeah, that's a good area there. So yeah, thank you, Nuno, for the presentation and the demonstration. I was just going to say, let's pass over to Luke just to take any questions from the Q&A. A reminder just to drop any Q&As that you have. I see one that's in the chat. We can take that also. There'll be plenty of, or we can just enter that into the Q&A box.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you, Nuno, for that presentation. Very interesting. A lot to uncover, I'm sure. As Leo says, please keep those questions coming in. I'm going to start with one myself. So you have demonstrated thermal inspection here. Is the platform applicable for other use cases too?
Yes, this is completely prepared, and it does include already some other use cases. We can integrate in here many others, as long as we, of course, we see together value on it. But it's completely, because it's the platform itself was developed not really only for thermal inspections. It was developed to automate every single inspection and digitalization activity that that might take place and that might be needed. So it's just a question of specifying the use case, using the modules that we have available at the moment, and customize them or retrain some of them to really cope with other use cases. But yes, that's completely possible, and that's the way we are working already with some of our customers.
Very good. Okay, well, I'm going to delve into some of the questions from the audience. So Antonio asks, does it mean a drone has to always be in place and ready to be flied?
It means that you know, you need to have equipment on the facility, of course, to run the inspection. I mean, there is no other option. Yes, equipment should be in place, and it can be deployed to cover a certain area. In big settlements of solar PV, it becomes very, very efficient. But yes, of course, we need to have equipment in place. It can also be mobile, anyways. I mean, you can still use our solution and have let's say a setup that you move from one place to the other. That's also possible. And don't take me wrong. All of that is possible, and it's very flexible as well. So both options are possible. So this is not the type of solution that you deploy in a place and you cannot move out. No, you can actually do that. But when it is big farms, it's typically better to have a resident setup, which is more efficient.
Okay, thank you, Nuno. So I'm going to ask you a question from Juan from EDPR. He says, congrats on the webinar. So that's a good point to start. There's several questions. Juan asks, one second. The questions are coming in, so they start moving around a little bit. So yeah, as you said, what is the performance of the drone? How many megawatts per flight can inspect? The inspections could be integrated with drone in a box solution, he asks. So a couple of things there to uncover. Let me know if you want a reminder on that.
Yeah. Hi, Juan. How are you? Yeah, I can give you more details than in one-to-one if you want, but just addressing very quickly your questions. Yes, it is prepared and ready to be integrated with drone as a box solutions. Okay, so to be a resident on the farm itself. That's for sure. In terms of megawatts per flight, I would put it more on the use case. I mean, if we are doing, for example, as per which is typical, right, as per the EIC standards, and we want to do a very high resolution thermography, we have a very efficient way to do it at the moment, and we might be talking about, depending on the farm layout, something between 30 and 50 megawatts in a day, not with massive flights. I mean, I'm just talking about 2 or 3 hours of operation maximum. And but of course, if it is just a follow-up inspection, to check some other defects that don't need really these high resolution type of inspections, then other use cases, we might be talking about cover a full 200, 300 megawatts farm in one single flight. So it really depends on the use case, but I can give you more details, after the webinar on the use case and really precise numbers on it.
Very good. Thanks for the question, Juan. Someone else just popped up saying, great webinar. Can soiling be evaluated with this technology?
I mean, we don't have a use case specifically to evaluate soiling, and nor we have thought too much about it yet. But again, we are open to listen and then to explore every use case. Soiling itself, it's not too easy to just evaluate or at least quantify through remote sensing techniques, right? You can evaluate that there is some level of soiling, but from aerial inspection, for example, based on thermal and RGB data, estimating the level of soiling and even link that with a kind of performance drop is something that if I say that we could do it with a high level of accuracy, I would be lying. And we are a serious company. We don't promise things that we cannot do. So we could talk about it, but for sure, soiling can be detected, of course, but quantifying and characterizing the soiling in very detail, it requires thought, and I don't see a straightforward way to do it remote sensing. There is other techniques, as you all know, that work quite well, that need to deploy some cells, reference cells on the field, clean one and keep the other one dirty, then compare and so on. But we have done a few things about soiling by comparing, a reference tracker that is always clean every day with others. There is some correlation, but we can take it also in background. I can give you some experiences that we have on that one, and eventually we can implement some use case that can at least estimate, have a rough estimation. But going to precise numbers, I see that use case quite challenging with remote sensing techniques.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe in a couple of years' time. Or
yeah,
something.
eventually.
That's the next edition. Someone has asked a couple of times actually. Dejan asked, do you also do a serial number identification? If yes, on which altitude is it needed for a drone to fly for this? Specific question.
Yeah, we do have the service. We do offer the service to inventorize serial numbers, and the serial number, it's something that the answer is not straightforward, because it really depends on the size of the serial number, and it depends on how old is the serial number and how is damage in terms of, for example, sun burning, yellowing on serial number and other type of condition. Okay, but typically we can do serial numbers with a high resolution camera flying very close with modules. Okay, and it can range from a few meters until almost 10 meters altitude. But again, it depends on the serial number. There are serial numbers very small. If they are burned by the sun, is much more challenging. We have other techniques to comply with or to mitigate that defect. But yes, any farm is possible to inventorize the serial numbers. It's just the technique that must change a little bit.
Okay, very interesting. Yeah, no, there's a couple of other really good questions here. Bert asks, really looking at the pain points here. So 430,000 panels have more redundancy than 20 inverters. How can your solution address the most critical failure point, the inverter?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure if I did understand the question. And here we are looking at the footprint, right? The example was a thermal inspection. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can of course. I mean, if there is one section that is in open circuit, or if there is a outage in a section, we can detect it, of course, by thermography. That's one of things that we do, and that's one of things that can be done. It doesn't really matter if it is 20 or 40,000. It's a question of a full section is out or just a string, but all of that is possible to be identified through thermography. Not really sure if I have addressed the question, but I think so. I think that was the question.
No worries. Yeah, but if you have any other thoughts or questions, please do pop
up. And please drop me an email if you want to give me more details about that. I mean, we are talking about thermography. Thermography from thermographic point of view, of course, we can see sections of the farm that are in outage and point them out right away in real time. That's really a big advantage because you can do these inspections. When it is a really big one, you can really see it in SCADA, right? But if you want smaller things like strings and so on, then it's very powerful to do very frequent inspections to really keep up with all status of your footprint.
Very good. Jose from Isotrol says, great presentation. Do you need specific conditions for the analysis, i.e. not winter, horizontal, trachas horizontal, and also what are the integration capabilities of the tools, such as APIs? Thank you.
Hi, Jose. Yes, the conditions, of course, are the standard conditions for thermographic inspections. So typically we follow the EIC standards, the 62446, where all the conditions are set up for thermal inspections. Mostly, irradiance levels that should be above 600 watt per meter square, and so on and so on. So we need those conditions in place to do certain types of inspections. But it really depends on the use case. If we are talking about thermography that you need to certify to make a claim, then of course it really needs to be under those conditions and that. If it is, for example, just to detect open strings, just for a kind of follow-up, or for example, your technicians on the field have done a few interventions and you are expecting a certain number of modules to be fixed or strings, and you want to follow up if it was really fixed or not, then of course you can relieve a little bit the conditions and just do it, because this is a result for your own usage, and it's just enough if you do that in non-optimum conditions. So it depends. In terms of integration, yes, it is completely open for integration. So all the system and the backend is designed to be integrated with any other platform throughout APIs, with encryption and, well, things that you guys in Isotrol know very well. So we are completely compliant with all the data protection and safety guidelines. And yes, that for sure, it's one of the things that we have been paying a lot of attention, because we want it to be interactive and alive with other tools to get the most out of many other data, and also to feed our data into other platforms. Either ways, the one that result most feasible and efficient.
Thank you, Nuno. So that actually feeds into a good question from Raphael, who also says thank you. What kinds of external data are used for analysis, and what type of AI is used? So anything you can reveal there?
Yeah. So look, in terms of data, it's the typical thing. So what we're doing here is, really to have the full visibility of the footprint, you need this, true digital twin in place. So there is of course the need to have all of that information available. We modulate that and we integrate that into the platform, okay, ourselves. So we don't need it to be perfect, but we need, of course, the IDs of the farm, okay, as per your IDs, if you want, or otherwise we automatically can create, we have scripts to create the automated IDs if you don't have them. And all of that is integrated by ourselves. So it's, DC electrical information, we need it, of course. For example, if you want to analyze the PID, we need electrical information at string level. So, but it's typical information, and anything that we need and is not available, we can produce ourselves as builds, whatever is required to, to use as a baseline to then grow up things. In terms of AI/ML, this is mostly, AI/ML is a very subjective topic, because of course we use a lot of AI/ML machine learning in this process, but that's just a component, and I would say maybe not the biggest component of the solution. Solution is much more than that. Is having logical layers, is having geolocation, is having many other things. Of course, we, as you can imagine, we so technical webinar, but we can give some details in one-to-one meeting or under NDA, but in here I cannot really reveal too much about the way we do things. I mean, just as indication, what I can say is that the solution is much more than just machine learning, and but for sure we use a lot of machine learning in the process.
Very good. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. There's a couple of other things to look into. There's a question now. Chiara asks, what are the law requirements for a drone to fly without a pilot? Maybe a bit of a different one, but for our audience who might be thinking about that question.
I mean, we have worked a lot on I can give more details on that, because it really depends on scenario, depends on the country as well. In Europe, initially in Europe it's pretty much harmonized, but even so, from country to country you need to comply with certain specificities. But it's already possible to do BVLOS type of missions. So BVLOS means beyond visual line of sight. But so far the missions need to be supervised. Okay, so which means you need to have someone certified, even if it is BVLOS, to supervise it. There is other. I mean, we are going there. Okay, we are going there on full autonomous programmable things, and it will not take too long, honestly. But again, is more a type of operations management job and working with local entities and create a scenario. But we can, and we have done already a lot of work in that area. We can really, we are very close with that one.
Very good, thank you. Okay, couple other questions. Josh asks, is the inspection analysis and report to IEC or other applicable standards?
The report, we as I said, the EIC, we follow the standard, and is 100% in compliance with standards. We have I mean, of course, if you want to have more information, send me an email, because we can really provide you with. We have actually documentation that EIC compliance, aeroprotecting EIC compliance documentation, okay, certified by external third-party entity, and we have gone through a lot of even processes that we have created ourselves to make sure that whatever gets out of our inspections is fully compliant with standards. So that's not the issue at all. If you want to know more about that, I can for sure send me an email, and we can for sure take the thing. And we have a lot of documentation and assurance that we do it.
Very good. Yeah, I think we've got most of the gist of the questions roughly coming in. We've got a couple more minutes, so if any of the audience tuning in do have some more questions they'd want to highlight. I suppose a question for myself, Nuno, definitely is, I mean, what are the kind of common challenges that you're seeing? I know you're talking about scaling up. What are those common challenges, both in what you're specifically seeing with your solution, but also from your knowledge of this industry, where are the growth pains? Because it's exciting to see the growth of solar, but it's not quite the easiest roadmap.
Yeah, I mean, look, when we scale up a solution, I mean, my background is electrical engineering, but I have started in telecommunications, so I did a lot of years working on telecommunications, and I'm in solar since 2012, maybe, when I started in solar. So I have a kind of two feet, one that is really on solar, but I have a lot of experience also from telecommunications. And in telecom, I've been involved in many massive rollouts when it really scaled up. And to be honest with you, the big challenge when you roll up one thing, a part of that is always difficult to get people, then it's always difficult to get specialized human labor. You have to train them. You have to give the right training, the right techniques, and even so, it's difficult. So a small problem, when you really massively scale up, a small problem can become a big issue, because you multiply something small, but then it is replicated in millions, right? I mean, imagine a problem at module level, right? A bracket, whatever. You multiply that. If you don't notice it up front, you can multiply that by millions of modules in the market. A procedure that is wrong and that can create damage medium long term can become a big issue at medium term. So it's really to have a full visibility of everything that is happening in the rollout, but also then in the operation and maintenance phase. If you really don't have this full visibility and more process automation to straight away trigger corrective actions that apply to everywhere, then you are lost. And that's the big thing. When you have a completely and very digitalized process automation throughout the full asset life cycle, if you need to apply one change and you need to apply that across 20 teams or across 20 assets, it's one click. It means you decide what you have to do, you do once, and then you spread it, because it goes in digital way. It goes in the working orders. It goes to every team at the same time. Everyone is synchronized. And sometimes you don't even have to explain anything. You just have to say, execute this way. And here is the guideline. Just take the tool will guide you through it. So this process automation is very important. I mean, I mean, solar, of course, is already scaling up a lot. We have seen and helping some of our customers with a lot of serial problems. But I personally have seen this problem back in 2006, 7, 8 until 2010 in big telecommunication rollouts. And it's the same thing. It doesn't matter which sector you are working on. It doesn't matter, when scale is the big thing, when you have to deploy, gigas and gigawatts in a short period of time. Then a small thing can be multiplied, and then the small issue can become a serious problem and really jeopardize a completely full project. So I think that's one of the big things. It's awareness in all stages of the project. And that's where we are focused at the moment, because of course, there are other things. I mean, I'm not saying that digitalization solves everything. Of course not. I mean, is one tool, is one piece, and very important piece of the full puzzle, right? But is one that is also very, very important and the key piece, in our opinion, to help massify and to really help this energy transition in an efficient way.
Very good, thank you. Yeah, that's I think is a really good point. There, if you've got time, we have one question, because I seen it come in twice. So how sensitive is the AI detection tool to the quality of the thermal camera, drone model, etc.? Can manual taken pictures be used at all for your solution?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I mean, the feeding of the data is something that we can you can feed data from several sources, so that's not a problem. The quality of the data, of course, it's always, the typical, sorry about my expression, but, if you put garbage in, garbage out, right? I mean, if you take a thermography that you barely can see anything, so then the AIML will not see as well. What I'm saying is that AIML is better at the moment. What we have is better than a human being classifying. Is more harmonized, accuracy is even better, which means one of the big things is, if you won't compare, defects and problems year after year, or inspection after inspection, or day after day, it doesn't matter, right? One of big key points is data needs to be normalized and harmonized, and defect classification needs to be, the criteria needs to be very consistent, right? And the machine is much better doing that than a human being. The level of accuracy is very, very high. It's higher than a human being at the moment, provided, of course, that the algorithms are properly trained and of course, that you have a good trained data set in the logical layer, which is the case. But yes, machine can achieve actually better results than a human being. Yeah, and that's the answer. It doesn't mean that we don't need any longer human beings. So don't take me wrong. And the sensitivity and the analysis of a human is always needed in certain steps of the full life cycle. Okay, but what I mean is that why don't we use the people to really go to the most important things, which is analyzing the things very deeply and take, those datas and triggers, those trigger actions to make bigger decisions than to really, free the people to do even more important work. So this classification and the more kind of standardized type of things the machine will be and is becoming much better than every human being.
Great. Well, thank you ever so much, Nuno, for your time. Yeah, that's a wrap from us on the Q&A side of things. Obviously, Nuno, you've said it throughout, you're open to questions and contact. And look forward to seeing you in Munich in a couple of weeks for our PV and wind event, utility scale, solar and wind. Do get in touch if you've got any questions about that. I'll hand over to Leo, actually, and thank you again, Nuno.
You're welcome. Thank you very much to everyone.
Yeah, thank you to all the attendees for providing the Q&As, also for Nuno and Luke for running the session. So that's all for today, and thank you again. Just as Luke was saying, this piece of content is done in conjunction to our utility scale solar and wind conferences. We've got one in Munich coming up in November. We also got another one for the US counterpart that's taking place in June in San Diego. So huge thanks again to everyone, and you'll have access to the recording shortly. So thank you, and see you again soon.